There we go. A live video is starting, and you're not quite sure the timing of the seconds counting here, but if I'm live, I'm live. Welcome everyone to Live at 5, and I'll just ignore the Facebook saying that it's live, but welcome to Live at 5 Mondays, and I'm thinking I have to get a new computer or something, but anyway, or clean it up. So that would be the other thing. Ideally, we have three things to kind of go over today. This is kind of the typical format. One being something completely different, new, but yet not new. And then go through, unpack some of the stuff that's being shared that's coming up even in my reality, as they may say, and then go through some puns and jokes. I actually have some sport jokes to go through today. So fun, and that's it. So let's get started with something completely new. I brought out, this is a little basket here of goodies, medicinal goodies, and not that I'm going to go through the whole things, but I wanted to point out a couple. Time for you good people, but I'll continue talking anyway. We'll see. The easiest thing for me to do was actually to just jump on Facebook, but things aren't always easy. So let's see what is going on here. Time. No, the clock's not counting down anyway. I might just jump on to YouTube and do something there, but we'll see where it goes here. Is it the settings, even if I'm, I don't even know if I'm public or not at this point. That's the interesting thing when you start going through this, is they change things from time to time, and the current frame rate is too low, whatever that means. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller here, and I'm not sure if that's even helpful to make things a little bit smaller. There's got to be a way around it. So, turkey tail, that's what I wanted to kind of start in with this something completely new. I'm aware that not everybody knows enough about different things, or there's so much to learn, but I mean, health is, what can we do without our health, right? So this is turkey tail that I foraged in the ravines this past year. This was something I picked up. It's called wormwood, and apparently this is what the big I, and then ver, and then mikan, I ver. This is the medicinal or active ingredient to do with that, but I haven't explored it yet. So what I want to get into is not just everything that's in here, but this particular thing called Renaissance. And if anybody knows Renee Cass, or indigenous people knowing enough about the herbs and the there was a particular formula that was used against mutated cells, right? It's the big, this word here, I call it mutated cells. Is what was a formula that Nurse Renee Cass used to use until such time that she had to shut down. But the formula has turkey tail in it. Another thing that's in the health food stores that it might go under, but apparently it's not every single thing in the original formula, is they call it ESSIAC, and it's already a tincture. My understanding and even my appreciation for things like chaga chunks and mushroom fungus, I think they want it to refer to as the right correct term for chaga, and that is medicinal as well, and that is in the line of this, again, brew it. That's my key message, is brew it yourself. The tinctures and stuff, I'm not sure what they do. I don't think that's how they administered it with that, and I'm what I would call, I don't want to think I want to label myself on anything, but I'd rather, there's something about doing it the way it should be done that may make a big difference. Of course, the intention, the people who are making it, is important too as well. And that goes with homeopathics as well, because everything is energy. So I wanted to, this is herbs and spices, organically grown or wild crafted, right? So organically grown is one thing, but where it's not certified organic, wild crafted. Love that term. But Richter's is a place where I've got herbs and seeds, and this is where I get this formula. It's called Renaissance, so be it that you don't want to use this all the time, but in the need of where there's mutated cells, you know, the big, then this would be that kind of formula. So what else do I have in here? I probably have, this is probably a bag called Tahibo Tea. Very good all around strengthening for the body. Tahibo Tea. Some of these have different names. So even though I'm saying Tahibo, Paudarco is the other term that you might be more familiar with when it comes to Tahibo tea. And again, it's a tea, and it's something that you brew. And I'm just of the mind, you know, having had a conversation to now dive into the state of the nation, if you want to call it that, is to talk about where, you know, people are wanting to create a homestead. People are wanting to go back, live in the land, and have their own gardens. And what I'm mindful of when I think about all that process is there is a lot of work. There's no question about it. When people want to grow all their own food and do things in a way that the homesteaders did before, there's a lot of work to that, no question about it. Maybe more, some more, some less. But if we go back to even further, when you had knowledge, when the people had knowledge, our ancestors had knowledge of the land, knowledge of our powers, let's put it that way, knowledge that everything was energy and plants gave us the medicine we needed, but it, again, going back far enough to that place and time, not centuries ago, although in certain cultures they surely know more, but I've talked to enough people where their grandparents knew a certain amount, and now they are people that are, you know, 40s, 50s, and they wish, you know, they had wished they had paid more attention and brought the knowledge, because it wasn't written down. They could show you which plant was for what. They didn't write. And as I was saying to my husband, they talk about nomads, you know, this is one topic came up, and, you know, the nomads did this and that. I said, do you really think that the nomads wrote a book? Probably not. So how is it that we have such detailed or possible information around the nomads with absolute certainty? I'm sure somebody heard something or said something or would have witnessed something, perhaps or perhaps not. Who knows? But the idea is, in the present time, we have plenty of evidence that things are not where they need to be naturally. This is not our true nature to live in cities. It's not our true nature to be eating highly processed, convenient foods. It's not in our nature to be inside in stuffy houses where, heaven forbid, a single molecule of warmth gets out of the house. You know, yeah, I remember thinking about it. You know, you're coming in and out of the house, and all you have to do is come in and out of the house. But you have somebody before you say, shut the door, quickly, shut the door. You know, these things that come up to my consciousness sometimes makes me laugh. I mean, it just makes me laugh. The places that we got to with the things that we have. Oh, be careful, be careful. You don't want to break it. You don't want to break it. So it's up and, you know, on a particular display there, whatever, collecting dust. And anyways, all these interesting things. I could go on for time and time again. But let me, and in some cases, if I'm freezing or whatever, it might be easier to go and watch this afterwards, so it's not painful for you. But let me see what we have in the way of information. There was one thing. Yes. Here's, there's a few things I wanted to bring up. Of course, some of it's in the news and things, but the idea is we do need to understand how the true ego and the altered ego is playing with us, right? It plays in so many different ways. It's crazy, and that's why in the presentation Awakening You, I focus a third of it on the ego, because to understand the ego, or to understand anything, and this is my comment here, really my true comment on speaking about this, is why do people don't do what you think they should do? And I believe, as I was kind of thinking about this, it's because they haven't heard what they needed to hear. Now, if you're going to tell people that they're bad or they're wrong or they're idiots or whatever name calling, then they're probably less likely to have a conversation with you, right? So this is the coming together. This is the community direction. And it's the clarity of the understanding that also needs to be put out there. Whether it's in a question, have you thought about this? What do you think about that? And this is the opportunity to kind of share and get to understand where people are thinking about things, because I think most people don't do what they don't do because they don't know, and the clarity and the understandings are not there. There's no black and white sometimes in explaining, because there's the bigger picture sometimes, and it may take a while. That's why I'm going to revamp. I just thought about this. I have the For You Better Health program. Not that I like that word program, but I have this. I'm going to revamp it, and the new title is A New Beginning. And because every day can be a new beginning, and how you see things, how you interact things, how you change your perspective on things, what you change in your world, even a little bit. So a new beginning is what it's going to be called. But the idea is bringing in, again, clarity and understanding about certain key things that make us find, not make us find our peace, but bring about more peace, bring in more peace, be more peaceful. Because that's the one thing doing metaphysical work, or I don't even know what to label it, because in some ways people have their beliefs about certain labels, even spirituality, but it's the peace, not the happiness. It's being in the joy and peace that makes the world entirely different, and the people, from the homeless to the wealthy, who again don't know any better on that front. And maybe the homeless are probably as closest to going, well, I don't like this world. I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to own a house. I don't want to have those responsibilities, because it's really nature of man is not to have all that busyness, have all that responsibility. If we think a large home, 2 people living in it, wanting to be like the Joneses and things like that. So that's my take on it that way. And let's see if I have the right page here. There was a particular clip that I watched called it's about reduce the population. It's a scene from One by One, Rick Mayall's last film, and I believe, if I go by memory, it's 2014 that it was done, and he passed shortly after that. But you're going to watch this, and ideally not just in this film, but possibly other films that you go back to watch. Pay attention to what information they are seeding the minds. Now, when I say seeding the minds, they're wanting you to believe, right? So what narrative, what agenda, what certain feelings and emotions come about? What do you think about the reality, if that were to be true or real? What do you think about that? And in this particular clip, it's not very big, it's just a clip, a scene. It's crazy what they say. This is so paralleling what's going on today. Not in every aspect. This is only a scene and all the details, and it's different for different people around the planet, the experiences that they're having, for the reasons they are part of their journey. But this clip is really, so I'm going to post that, And then I want to step back into a little bit about technology. So let me give you an understanding, a deeper understanding of where I'm going with this. Let's just say once upon a time, because we do understand a little bit about Buddha, we understand that certain people on this planet without names actually were able to do certain things that man witnessed and was in awe of. But let's say if we go further back from those particular people that have supposedly been on this planet, that at some point in time man knew their powers of choice, telepathic, flying. We've heard flying yeah, you might have heard the term flying, where people go to sleep and they fly, or they drop their body and they're flying. It's usually at nighttime sleep when they're and then there's other things where people go remote viewing, and you might have heard other things where they go in and maybe even shapeshift, and you've heard of other things, perhaps depending on which books, where they actually drop their body and they appear somewhere else, or they move their entire body through a breakdown of molecules, just like Star Trek, the transporter room. Yes, perfect example of showing what our earlier powers were. So in essence, we've been through millennia of time where we've been, and this is where I'm going to say, dumbed down, lazy. We're at some point, again, it probably took generations and generations, hundreds of generations, to get to a point where we admire the technology. But what if, once upon a time, our minds and our brains were actually way smarter, if I'll use that word, than all the supercomputers on the planet today? And what if you could? You see, you see somebody, someplace where you want to be, up on a ledge, and you just levitate and you go on the ledge. What are these? Our powers. I mean, we've heard stories of, and more people are familiar with the telepathic. Other people are familiar with people bending spoons. I mean, so what if our powers really don't require us to have planes, trains, automobiles, or computers, because that's where our original powers were? Then we started to forget. I mean, how many people on this planet, kids, maybe it's more Western civilization, really don't even know what some vegetables look like as they're picked from the garden. They're so used to convenience food, and more maybe the children, because we've heard this. I'm trying to think of the young fellow who's a chef, but he showed and demonstrate this, where they didn't know what it looked like. So for time and time again, for convenience, right, we have set up a world that is disconnected from where our food comes from, and perhaps so disconnected for a very, very long time, we actually forgot what our plants, our medicinal plants are, foraging and all these things, getting our food from the land. And that's where I'm going to get back to the homesteading piece, is that what if we don't have to do all that work? We have more nature around us. I mean, a lot of it's been cleared, unfortunately, because even me just going into the true ravines that are near me, there's a lot of food there, from berries to fruit trees to grapevines to all kinds of herbal plants, from wild lettuce, wild spinach. What else did I find? Then there's the garlic mustard greens. There's the thistle, it's edible. The burdock, that's edible. I can go on and on for several things, and many things probably that I'm going to discover that, yeah, we can eat. That we can eat. So the idea is a lot of lost knowledge, and for sure, when you're thinking about a wild food and foraging, that there's probably certain things that we focus on, but it can absolutely expand. So can you imagine living out in the country, but you're getting most of your food from the wild? So what does that mean? You're not tied to where you live. You can go off in the middle of the summer for a weekend. You don't have to think about, is the sun too strong, because you clear it up and you got your garden patch right in the middle of the sun, which is why some people are actually planting it in and around trees and have some trees and some shade, so that it's not full sun all day long. But the idea is, with that kind of transition, but we need more of the forest. We need more of the landscape put back into place in its true nature, to have the plants, all these wild plants, to be there and to flourish. And that's the whole mycelium network underneath, to kind of spread and morph, and to provide more wild mushrooms, I guess you could call it, because now people are growing them, and they have been commercially doing certain mushrooms. But the variety, I mean, we're so amazed, I know for me, just getting into mushrooms, so amazed at the color that exists. So that's all just prelude to me talking about what they're talking about, taking man into, again, another deeper level of not knowing our powers. And that is to say, hey, we can put a chip in your body. This is Elon Musk, Neuralink, to begin implanting microchips in humans. Now, at first, they're talking about it being in people who are, now it has to get approval from FDA and everything, but this is for people who really, really, really could need it, in a sense of what we know about disease and conditions, and the whole thing about, you know, you're going to have that for the rest of your life. So these paraplegic and stuff, it's accident driven, so you can understand that accident driven is going to be different than the disease conditions. So this is supposed to be able to help them in some way learn. I'm going to post it up here so you can see, but what I want to say is many of these projects that they're talking about can be introduced at a level that, as the Sapien book, Seed the Mind, where if you put this in, then we can download all this information, and you're going to have all this, whether it happens or whether it's true or not, I don't know. But the idea is they're seeding the mind to think they want to put things in our body. Now, what comes to mind very quickly is they put something in your body that could cause you pain. So if you don't do something, you're going to get pain. This reminds me of, again, Star Trek again, and Borg. They know your thoughts, right? It's all just packets of energy, and they're able to, you know, do things with those things that are unethical. So the artificial intelligence, the human augmentations, transgender, whatever, and Canada has their own on their website as well, Canada government website, about putting machine into man. But there's definitely that big phrase of the to be ethical and stuff like that. I just wouldn't do it. I'd rather people understand our true powers of the nature. It's not something we're going to be able to read about and be able to do because we logically understand it. No, there is more to that than just a logical way of thinking. It is a change of energy in the body. It's a change of mindset. It's to believe that you can. So our powers, I'll say powers because that's probably the easiest way to articulate it at this time. But here you go, Elon Musk, Neuralink, to begin implanting there. Now, one of the things that keeps coming up and is something that I've talked about many times is the vitamin D aspect. And this is not surprising whatever. Not surprising at all. Vitamin D, the research shows that particular, CV, is that these people are deficient in vitamin D. I bet they're going to be deficient in omega-3 too, to tell you the truth. This is because conditions and ill health and having various chronic symptoms and that has inflammation, and inflammation is it burns up all the nutrients, not all the nutrients, but it burns up vital nutrients in your body, to be under pain, to be under worry, stress because you have it, to be under toxic medications. Again, that puts a stress on the body. It makes the body acidic, so more minerals for buffers, those kind of things. So it doesn't surprise me at all. Many conditions have been researched to understand what is the level of the vitamin D. And almost what they say is just about everybody is low in vitamin D. So is that the only issue? Because I've heard many times that and the omega-3, omega-6 is a hugely deficient or a huge imbalance in the body for every particular condition as well. Because, remember, Inflammation is a component of every disease. It's not the cause of disease. It's a symptom telling you you have pain here. Oh, you broke your bone. You better stop walking. This is pain. So every disease or condition, even if they're named at the end with itis, has an inflammatory component. Inflammation is part of every chronic disease. But if you have acute and symptoms, which means you're going to come and then it's going to reverse, whereas chronic, you have it all the time. It's chronically there. The pain and the heat and the redness, that's all inflammation as well, but it's only a symptom. And what manages best inflammation in the body is not to, how can I say it? There's going to be a few factors for sure. It's not just all in. Is the nervous system. Yes, the hormonal system, which is kind of tied. Vitamin D is like part of every cell in the body. It's just, why? Because it's the one sending the signals out to the body. So think about your nervous system as electrical wiring in your house. This is your home. This is your body home. And in your home, you have electric wiring. That's like our nervous system. And this is dependent upon the essential fatty acids. This is very fatty acid, fatty oil, and that's where you get it, fatty acids, and get into lipids, oils, fats, all those types of things. And so that is your neurological links. If you have something going on where, in a case of the myelin sheath, which is part of every nerve, then that's MS, and that's being disintegrated. And, well, you know it. If you know anything about MS or know anybody with MS, you'll see neurologically the functioning is different. So many conditions, so many neurological conditions. The idea is damaged nerves, right? Or various things going on. But neuropathy is nerve damage. You get that from chemo, right? You get that from being diabetic or type 1 diabetic. I think it has partially to do with the medicine, but also the breaking down of the body. So where I'm going with that is you have the essential fatty acids is the nervous system. The vitamin D is sending out the signals, right? So if you have signals coming in through, needs to go to the body, then the vitamin D sends the signals out. The vitamin A catches it, and there's this kind of loop, communication that needs to go on, response, healing, detox. All of these major functions are either automatic or you do it, but at the end of the day, if you don't have the nutrients there, whether it's the balance of the omegas or too little omega-3, that's more to do with the nervous system, but the inflammation management and the fact that you should have an inflammatory response if you hit your knee, that's the omega-6, and the omega-3 brings down inflammation. So they work together, different areas of the body, depending on the nerves, depending on the communication, is going to work differently. But vitamin D, sending out the communication, and vitamin A, bringing in the feedback. That's why A is so abundant on skin, but internal skin, external skin, membranes, right? All of the membranes, bring it back. So those, and those certain nutrients, vitamins, well, vitamin D is a non-steroidal hormone, but these particular thing, A, D, they are fat soluble, so you'll find them in fat. So they work well with fat. That's why, hence, nervous system, D, A, communication, round it all up. You want to have good communication. We know that even to get along, we have to have good communication, but this is for your body to respond. So vitamin D, let's go through this very quickly in some ways, as quick as I can. To produce vitamin D, you need cholesterol. So cholesterol meds hinder the production of vitamin D, because you don't want to have less cholesterol, which they seem to tell you you have to have less because it's a problem, but it's not the root cause of splitting arteries or clogging arteries. No, it's a survival mechanism. Let's use it that way. So if you shower every day with soap on the very body part so that the sun would come on, think about how much we wash our hands, and that's really one of the areas, our face and our hands, constantly washing them with soap or things that are, you know, scrub them clean, but overdo it, overdo it. You need 48 hours to take the sun rays and the cholesterol, the fat that's on our skin, to actually produce natural vitamin D. And then there's some conversion in the body that needs to happen. So washing too much, washing off the oils, putting lotion creams, not only sunscreen, but other chemical lotions and creams, and maybe even natural ones, would hinder the process of conversion. Then what else was I going to say? Yeah, sunscreen would be a problem. Cholesterol meds would be a problem. And understand that sometimes we're believing that the sun is bad for us, but also understand that as people have issues with their health, that they're going to be more vulnerable because of they're not nutrient sound, they're nutrient deficient, and there's enough stuff going on, so you just become vulnerable. But remember that probably back when there was no sunbathing, we didn't have this thing about, oh, I want to be darker, oh, I want to be lighter, you know, I want tanning. That's crazy, crazy. And in fact, when you went for a walk and hike back when, you're probably going in and out of the trees. You're only getting the dappling of sun or sun here and there. And then think about winter. The sun might not be as strong enough, but this is one area of your body that you don't wash out with soap, right? Or probably pack sun lotion on and sunscreen on. No, get in your eyes, and then that tells you, wow, this is probably with chemicals in it because it's burning your eyes. So the lids and the sun, these are all membranes, and that is, in my way of thinking, a conversion of vitamin D. And you can make a whole lot of vitamin D when you just get enough in the sun, and you can store it enough. So you got to understand what's using it up in the body, and the need for it, and how you may be hindering the process, not accepting, you know, the process that we have to get outside, right? We have to get outside. The whole nature of things and being outside, the air, the wind cleanses the air. So I know I'm going to bring this up probably time and time again about vitamin D because I think it is an important thing. But be reminded, it's not just vitamin D deficiency that makes the whole body work, right? It's not just water that makes the world go around. There's always going to be key nutrients that are in the body, and fatty acids are one of them, and vitamin D and A is the other ones. But I couldn't find anything to really speak to needing 90 nutrients in the body. It's just not what our body's made of. Certainly there's kind of enzymes in there, and I'm going to say limited science, you know, try to figure things may be used up quite easily. But that's what I want to talk about in there. When that keeps coming up, no fear, just understand those simple things. Now what keeps on coming in, and it's coming out more, is that absolutely particular certain news, whether it's CBC or whatever, they are starting to talk more and more about how things are, you know, they're not doing it well, not doing this. So they're definitely taking different sides in the mainstream media. But what's important is what is actually happening. There'll be a lot of talk. Maybe a lot of people don't, but it's what's really, what are they going to do about it? You know, what are they going to do about it is going to be definitely important. And again, I want to remind people that some of the things which you got to go dig for because they're not in mainstream media is the idea that some of these groups like UN, like the WHO, like the International Monetary Fund, you know, these kind of places, what are they saying? You know, what are they wanting? The Catholic Church, what are they wanting? What are they talking about? I can tell you from being on the Catholic Summit, and it was the 5th one, it was this year, that they want to rule spirituality. They want to rule the religious component in the world. Not that they're going to, but again, that's what they're kind of putting out there. Shouldn't we just have one, you know, and doesn't it make sense that we do this? And then if you go to the GF, Forum Economic Global, say it backwards. When you go to theirs, they'll tell you what you need to make priorities. And yet, time and time again, it's not really what it is. They're just using it in the case for social credit system, to do the things they want you to do. I mean, it's all seeding the minds in some ways. Dig a little deeper is what I'm kind of saying there in question. So in some cases, some people are saying, really what this is all about is seeding the minds and control, control, control until certain things are in place, that it's more of a, I mean, we've been hearing global, 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 global for a very long time. The idea of one entity, one club, controlling different ideas and what should and shouldn't be done, it seems there. So does that mean a new digital monetary system? I don't know. But at the end of the day, we do exchange things, so somehow something's got to be figured out. But until then, I'm using a lot of, in a lot of things. So thing I wanted to bring up, because I don't think I brought it up the last one, but I did it on the presentation, is there's a few more things going on in the AI. So let me kind of dive into that a little bit. There's this thing called gene drive. I'm going to post it up so you can explore it yourself. But the idea is this gene drive might be a new term for you. It was a new term for me, and many people that I talk about it is there. But again, there's certain unethical things about it. But here's what I want to go about it. It's in the presentation I did this past Saturday for your better health. So I definitely mean that's a couple of hours. But the idea is they want to go in and work with genes to change things. And one of the things that they comment in there is to eradicate or get rid of, let's say, certain pests. So I'm going to say to you, insects are not pests and plants are not weeds. All right? Just going to say that. Let's say that is our ground point. So here's what they want to do as an example that it speaks to on this particular website. I think I have it under Wikipedia. Yeah, so that's probably the simplest thing to read. And that is, okay, let's eradicate because they carry things. I have said before what a native person said to me, and it's so logical, so simple, seems like it rings truth right around the world, is that mosquitoes will be in their natural areas that they are. Wherever they are, they are. And in the environment, if there's certain things that come about, let's say malaria as an example, if it's there, they're probably going to pick it up by the way they move around and where they live, because in still water, that's where things are going to be, not running water, whatever. So they're amazing. They reside and live in the places where things are going to be. They pick up little bits of it, and let's just say they have to drink water too. And they pick up a little bit of it, and then when they go for the food portion, we have to eat food too. Not maybe we don't have to, we're breatharians, but and when they eat this food, which is your blood, they're exchanging fluids. So there you go. They feel bad. They're taking your blood. They got to give you something bad. But this is nature's inoculator. This is nature's way of allowing our system, because remember, they're taking the blood, so therefore they have direct access to the blood. Sure, it's itchy. Sure, it's irritating for the little bump that you get, but that's nature's inoculation, nature's injection. That is wonderful. That's why you hear in some cases where certain things are, they're immune to it. There are people in the area where malaria is, as kids would ever get bought, they get many inoculations in their lifetime. But we still have to consider the environment. Are we creating this environment unhealthy? And that's why they're able to pick up certain things. That may be an issue. And if people are traveling around, well, that may be an issue. And the idea is to deal with vulnerability and to deal with unnatural environments. Really, leaving water still in a wheelbarrow, in a pot, that's not natural. You don't have those things around. Rain seeps all into the earth, and we don't have these still water. But there's ponds, there's areas that, for the reasons there, it might be unnatural. It might be that we created it, maybe that we disrupted an underground stream, and that's why it became. So Man is probably responsible for different things that have disrupted our, the nature of things. But I definitely wanted to bring that up. So in essence, what they're looking to have people buy into is the fact that they can go in and play with certain traits to help eradicate or just change things. So of course, what can happen is screw-ups, accidents. I mean, they don't know everything. Here's my thing. If they can tell me and show me that they can find the cure for diabetes type 1 and cancer and a number of these neurological, I will consider the science and the know-withal that they have with an absolute whatever. If they can do that, until they can do those things, I'm putting this down as an extension of craziness. That's what I'm going to do. It's an extension of craziness. It's experimenting with man. It's is it patenting man? People talk about that. Is it patenting man? I don't know. I don't know like I know. But again, if you make changes to things and it's unnatural and not well, you're now my property, right? Or something about something. And then you have one person believing, have this kind of gene drive stuff over here, and this company has over, but you can't go to that one now. No. Now you've got this piece of machinery in you. You are part of, this system or this corporation or whatever it is. But very unethical. And of course, they talk about the downsides in there. They talk about, well, what if you try to eradicate a certain thing in a particular area? You want to isolate it, but then it gets out. Of course, that's the thing. Things can get out. And that's the nature of things. They move, the wind blows, the whatever, the water flows. I mean, things can absolutely happen. So, this is another thing. Just say no. Do not comply. Do not agree. Do not venture there. And again, I'm saying, unless they have the cure for mutated cells, which happen naturally, the cure for a common cold, which happens for a good reason, then no, I can't buy into something like this that's going to make perhaps total screw-ups of the nature of things. And again, the mosquito has a purpose, everything has a purpose, and the mosquito's probably our biggest friend when it comes to that, because it is one of those biting insects that that just happens every time, right? Just happens every time. So I definitely can't say that one enough. I know I have watched, I've said that before, spoke to it and watched it. So just a shout out to a number of people here. Yes, Hugo Talks, and I've been watching videos. I'm just gonna of Zach Bush speaking, and there was some things I just didn't get, in a sense that people can be philosophical. I know I am, and people will say, Cheryl, just get to it. But you can't just say it in black and white, and if you don't have enough background or understanding to things, clarity is very, very important. So finally, after watching a handful of videos, there was this one video that I watched, and it's not about so much as transforming your health or finding the root cause of disease or anything like some of the titles I have, but it's getting down to what man can be doing more of in order to feel at peace, and you're going to feel healthy, and to understand simple workings. But really, I mean, there's this one book that I studied, and I did on my own, but I kind of read it with somebody too. But at the end of the day, there's very simple things in there that just make sense. You don't have to, read it so literally, kind of thing. And so I found out that he read that book as well, and then that made sense on why he was talking about this and talking about that and talking about whatever. It started to make sense when some of these little pieces that he spoke as to where his thinking was. And it wasn't until he mentioned this book that I was able to figure it out. So that looks like the clock stopped. I don't know. Maybe it has. Maybe it hasn't. It seems to bounce around. But Anyway, that's really, there's a lot of stuff going on, and I have to say that to be in a place where you are taking care of you, it is true. When it comes to taking, for some people, the martyrs, let's say, and others, you come last. You're taking care of everybody but yourself. Why? And when it comes to spending a few dollars, you'd rather, for whatever optics, perhaps, you'll spend a lot of money on certain things, but yet you won't spend a few dollars on yourself, right? So there's these things that sometimes seems a little bit, how can I say, yeah, everybody has free will and choice, so you're going to choose what you're going to choose, but to fall into that place of getting what you need, and to gain the understandings, to be welcome to the understandings, to be willing, to be open to key understandings, so you can move through whatever you need to move through. If that means, as in the ego thing, to understand more about true ego, right? How does this ego work? I love asking people that question, only from the standpoint is to show that in times we are being taught about something in a way, but it's not the biggest, it's not the big picture, it's not all the pieces. It's not all the pieces. So that's that. Let's go into a couple of jokes, some puns, and just kind of briefly share, because I know I'm looking at 2022 and how I can help people, and it is clear that we need to move our bodies. So the YDAN, the winter session, will start early in January. I'm going to revamp the For Your Better Health. It's going to be called A New Beginning, and there's going to be different concepts. We're going to have, this beautiful Zoom kind of thing. We're going to have group sessions, but there'll be accountability, teachings and learning and understanding, and times for Q&A, but just a nice way to flow information in and get action driven, get some action going on, but very light, very simple, because it is the foundation. It is the foundation that needs to be laid. That really helps to be solid, a solid foundation. What else did I want to go through? I am going to be doing some free presentations. Absolutely. Sometimes they're going to be part of, like, Master Teresa was, co-created this thing. She actually organized it. And there's some other practitioners that called me too, that they want to do some summits, participate in that. Some want to do more extensive programs for women, and I would have my role in that, but that's to come. Also, IAWESOME, the International Academy of Universal Self-Mastery. I'll be teaching YDAN there, Iridology, and then the book club. But I also have, now that book club's a little bit slower, I actually read it out loud, but the Awakening Book Club will again start with the Ringing Cedars series in February, I believe. So February it will start, and it's probably like the third Sunday. It's the same as what I did this year, the third Sunday. Iridology, yes. So I'm going to do some free presentations on Iridology. Your eyes tell stories. I'm going to talk about inflammation in there as well. You can see the stress rings, certain key markings, and then I'll also add some other information in there as well. It's going to be helpful, but it's the way the body communicates, and to make sense of certain things, that's where Iridology, your eyes tell stories, come in. So for some, it's going to be very new, learning about Iridology. And to me, that's very fun. It's very visual. So to do a presentation on Zoom is very easy, very fun. But I used to do it in large groups and go around and do an LCD projector thing. But then at that point, I could take pictures of eyes, which you can't do so much when it's on the big screen, but it's fun. So I hope everybody's doing well. More and more people are seeing what's going on. They're getting together, they're gathering, they're working things out, like Sylvain Henry, big shout out. He's doing what he's doing, and the people that are attracted to that are coming together. So people are being attracted to certain things. Go with it, right or wrong. Just understand that it's about take care of yourself for the greater community. For the greater community. I'll go through some sport shorts here in this wonderful pun joke book, and we go from there. So bring in a little humor. I mean, at the end of the day, I take into life too seriously. This is where they fund the projects, and so far I started a new project today. I'm not going to speak about it. It's a very all-encompassing of different things, and there's some personal aspects to it and what it's about, so that's why I'm not, but it's a wonderful new project for the next several months. You won't hear about it. I won't tell you about it because it's of a personal nature for clients. But at the end of the day, yeah, very, very, I'm happy to be doing it, happy to be in service, as we would say. So let's go into some pun joke fun stuff here. Sport shorts, Rick and Dick. So if you don't know anything about this 50-year-old joke and pun book, when it's having its dialogue between two people, I noticed right quickly that the names rhyme. So here's Rick and Dick having a conversation. Rick, why does a golfer wear 2 pairs of pants? Dick, I have no idea. Rick, in case he makes a hole in one. So for you golfers out there, golfer's been going on for a long time. All right, let's see. I haven't read any of these, so hopefully they make sense even to me, because sometimes might be just of the time. So question, what do a baseball team and a dish set have in common? And this is one you can remember and you can share as you get together in your lovely family gatherings, which a lot of people are going to do still. What do a baseball team and a dish set have in common? They both have pitchers. Bob and Rob. Here's one for you. The Marines and Navy were playing basketball. All the Marines fouled out. Who would they put in? Rob, I don't know. Bob, the submarines. Submarines. All right, let's try one more. Red, did you mark that place where the fishing was good? Ted, yes, I put an X on the side of the boat. Red, that was stupid. What if we should take out another boat next time? Double whammy in there. Okay, one more. This is Dawn and Ron. What race always starts with a tie? Ron, I don't know. Dawn, a 3-legged race. So there you go. Lovely, lovely puns and jokes from our Jokes, Puns, and Riddles book. So I'm going to wish everybody a wonderful evening. And most likely next Monday, live at 5's the usual. And if you want to go to any of the past live at 5's, they are here on Facebook, yes. Most of them, not all of them. But YouTube and Rumble. So both of them have a collection. The one right from the beginning 3 years ago is all on YouTube, whereas Rumble, I think I've just been starting to post them a year or so ago. And so some of them are there as well. But as usual, some of these things that I wish to impart are actually not only for the times, but would be warranted all the time. That's kind of the play. I don't want to really get into, yes, there are people definitely being affected by the injections around the world. And you may be privy to certain stories. I may actually post a few things that have come my way. But at the end of the day, that stuff is absolutely happening. I don't believe, you can't question that when you see people talking about it outrightly, their experiences. But and there's some places that are holding space for it and having many people come on, as many of people that are comfortable to share their stories. So I'm going to wish everybody a wonderful night, Again, think about how you can take care of yourself. I will post some links as they come in for the different things that I have coming up in the new year. Again, they're meant to be foundational and light and inexpensive, and just, again, understand that you're worth it, and to spend money on yourself is not to be something to be guilty over, right? I mean, you don't have to do everything and anything and things that cost thousands and thousands of dollars. If you want, that's your choice. For sure you can. But again, good night. Wishing you all a enjoyable week, and we will see you next Monday live at 5. Bye for now.